Legend of Korra was ass, respectfully, for a lot of reasons.
But for the Legend of Korra, we got a 6'3" pro bodybuilder with anger issues that only cares about.
The show doesn't really do anything well, at least in my opinion.
She around and lost the entire Avatar lineage.
God, we are back, and I don't know if nostalgia has covered my eyes, but the discourse around the Legend of Korra is disgusting. Let's talk about it. Alright, in the last episode we talked about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Today we're going to be talking about the next Avatar. Now, this show came out over 10 years ago at this point. If you ain't watched it, here's your spoiler alert. We got some shit to get into. I'm gonna be honest, I never really understood the discourse around this show, and specifically Korra as a character. Bro, each Avatar made their mistakes and put the world in jeopardy. But in Korra's case, she goes through these things and she kinda learns from her mistakes, I guess.
But to me, Aang did not ever come off as selfish. He came off as reasonable for the most part and struggled with the idea of becoming an avatar just like anyone else would. He took necessary precautions and became an avatar personally I could be proud of, you know what I mean? Whereas Korra came off as selfish, big-headed, and in some instances I'd even say borderline out of line.
Korra starts the show reckless, combative, impatient, and self-important. She thinks that as the Avatar, she deserves to be treated special by important people, and she thinks that the solution to every problem is to run in headfirst and fight everyone she sees. Now, I actually really like that Korra starts out like this. She is the exact opposite of Aang from Airbender. Aang was a pacifist, didn't like fighting with people, and was extremely reluctant to take on any responsibility and interfere with other people he didn't understand. Korra, being exactly the opposite, gives her a lot of room to grow and to learn lessons that Aang would have never even addressed.
I as well, when I first started watching, loved that Korra was almost completely the opposite of Aang. She always wanted to smoke, she was always on go, and now that I think about it, Shorty was really like a YN with a crazy patch update and unlimited ammo. Because the problem is that she starts the show resorting to violence, and I mean, even in the last season, she's still on go resorting to violence.
And maybe that's also why Korra literally hasn't learned anything or grown at all in this entire season. Maybe this was all deliberate. Maybe the writers are trying to make a point that the consequences of our actions aren't actually up to us, but are based on events that are far beyond our control. Maybe they're showing us that the world is so big and filled with people with enormous amounts of money and influence that have their own agendas that can't be stopped by random people or even figureheads. Or maybe this is just bad writing.
But don't get me wrong, she does show some capacity of learning and growing. She chose not to kill Kuvira, the main antagonist of the last season, and spared her life. In season 2, she decided to not close the spirit portals and, you know, allow spirits and humans to kind of roam with each other together. We gotta give her some props. She did her Diddy Bop at times. Yeah, I understand the character development and even the personal growth that Korra goes to and the criticism that it gets. But I also understand what it's like to be 17 years old going into your adulthood. I learned so much from 18 to 21 and I still made the same mistakes. I don't think the show portrayed the age as obvious as the story of Aang, but I think they show it through her weird, confusing love life, the battle of figuring her place in the world, and the mental battle of self that she goes through. Now, I ain't saying that some of the mistakes that she made wasn't detrimental, because getting your bending taken away as the Avatar is insane behavior. Getting put up and caught multiple times is insane behavior. Losing connection to your past lives, do I even have to say it? It's insane behavior. But in a lot of these scenarios, bro, I legit don't know what else she was supposed to do. Now, I will agree the Amon situation she should have handled better. But specifically in season 2, it was either open the portal or let Jinora die. Like, and this is why some of the discourse around Korra is just nasty to me. Because the response is, hey, just do better. You the Avatar, what you mean? Just do better. Hey, Aang would never. Kyoshi would never.
Let me know right now who in the Legend of Korra verse is beating Ozai. Cause it's not Korra.
They're not.
It's not Korra. Korra is not beating Ozai. Korra couldn't even beat Kuvira. couldn't beat Kuvira. Toph could beat Kuvira. You know who could beat Toph? Aang. And Korra couldn't beat Toph.
You know, it's cool to have a little versus shit every now and then. But I don't know, I think it's really just a personal thing because I don't view shows or movies in this manner. I don't really care about who would beat who's the stronger villain or protagonist. I'm genuinely looking at what is making this show good, bad, or mid. I think there's so much criticism and dislike towards the show because of the clear differences that made Aang's story so great. I think there are a lot of obvious distinctions between the two shows, but we'll talk about some of the key ones that I noticed. One of the biggest differences that I caught when watching in season 1 is that The Legend of Korra is plot driven. And this is unlike the story of Aang that is deeply rooted in character development. This is literally some of the greatest storytelling that is so immersive in the development and growth of the characters. Now we do see small stints of growth, but it's nowhere near as much in Atla. And I think this drastic difference is what causes a rift between the shows. But not only does it affect the show, it also affects the connection to the characters. And I mean, long story short, you just care less about the characters in The Legend of Korra. But they replaced the episodes where you get backstories, the filler episodes where you just really get to know the character. They replaced these with more action-based scenes, things that push the plot along. So, you know, we get more of the, how is the protagonist gonna get out of this situation? So once we get to the end of the journey, there is no real feeling to express. And even throughout the show, I don't really get a lot of crazy emotion. The most I would get would probably be hearing, you know, about the characters in the previous show that passed away. It was kind of sad, like, oh, Aang is dead. Like, I understand that he reincarnates, but you know, Sokka's he's just gone now. You know, that was kind of sad. I'm not gonna lie. In season 3, when Zahir and his gang was just pounding Tenzin. Pause. My bad. we gotta slow down on that. When multiple people were attacking Tenzin, I meant to say. In that moment, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of thought it was over for Tenzin, and if he would have died, I would have got a little emotional. I think this is one of the key differences because, I mean, at least for me, when I finished Atla, bro, the feeling that I got, it was, I don't even know how to explain the feeling, and I'm not trying to glaze, even though I glazed last episode. It was just like a really good feeling that I had when watching the show in its completion, especially during a rewatch. And with this show, the ending, I mean, I enjoyed the show, but the ending was just kind of like, oh, okay, of course gay. I don't really know what else to say about the ending for real. Like, I don't really care about a lot of the characters, or at least not as much I did in the previous show.
I told her to find God. I told her to make a wish. She know that I'm fairly odd.
So we kind of talked about the structure and the makeup of the show, but I think the characters is another key distinction. Like I said, you know, I fucked with Tenzin. I didn't fuck with him at first because I thought he wasn't like that for real. As the show progressed, Jinora, I think, was probably one of my favorite characters. Especially after when she got them tattoos, I was like, oh nah, she official now. Now at first, I liked it Maku because he reminded me of Sokka, you know, kind of as like the comedic relief. But as the show went on, I don't know, he kind of just got a little corny to me. And then somehow Varric kind of replaced him with the comedic stuff. And you know, he went through his little redemption arcs. Him and Zhu Li was just, those two niggas was just hilarious to me. I think that this is a lot different from Atla because I think in Atla you bond with most of the main characters. My experience when watching the show is I didn't bond with a lot of the main characters, but you know, I did fuck with the, you know, the side niggas. Pause. It's crazy that I almost left this out of the video. One of the most frustrating and hardest things that they forced us to watch was this terrible love triangle. Now in Atla, you know, of course we had the back and forth with Aang and Katara, but there was always this build up that maybe one day they would get together. It was enjoyable to watch throughout the show, knowing that they were trying to figure out their feelings for each other, and eventually, inevitably, they would get together. But in The Legend of Korra, it's bullshit. I don't know what else to say. From the beginning of the story, we start off with Maku and Korra. Korra having feelings for Maku, but him secretly kinda, you know, having feelings for her, but not showing it because he started dating Asami. Now, Mako and Korra being together, I didn't like as a fit, and I think inevitably they would have also broken up. I was fine with that. But there was no real build-up between Korra and Asami for that to even make sense. Especially when she stated, "Hey Asami, you're the only friend that I truly have that's a female and we can talk about girly things together." And I mean, I guess you could argue that there was some type of build-up because she was the only person that she was writing letters to and da-da-da-da, but I didn't really feel a spark between them. To me, it made more sense for them to be friends. But if you would have wrote it for Asami and Korra being together, you should have made a longer build-up from the beginning. It didn't make sense for Mako and Korra to be together. No, my bad. It didn't make sense for Mako and Asami being together. Then Mako and Korra being together. Then Mako and Asami being back together. Then Mako and Korra being back together. And then Asami and Korra. It didn't make sense to go through all of that. All of this hoopla in this way and that way. My God. It was way too difficult of a love story to even follow it, or really to even be invested in. Usually when I'm screaming at my screen, it's because, oh my gosh, I'm so captivated and engaged in what the character is doing. This time I'm screaming at my screen because I'm so frustrated with how they wrote this. I disagree with personal actions like Mako, my nigga. Like, Bolin is your blood brother. Why you going against bro code and trying to fuck with Korra in the first place? You weird for that. You're weird. It was just too much going on, bro. Why y'all all hopping on the same meat, bro? Like I said, Bolin was very similar to Sokka to me. Like but Sokka was a little bit like smoother with his stuff. Bolin was just a horn dog, bro. He was just he was just too aggressive. Like, bite down, twin. I don't care that they were lesbians, bro. I would be fine with Asami. It was just the way they decided to execute this was just, it made no sense, bro. And I think Korra's villains, bro, they struck more fear to me. In season 1, I was genuinely like, oh my gosh, her mom took away her bending. She was dealing with a different villain in each season, which is actually something that I appreciated because, you know, in the story of Aang, you know, he has, I guess you call them mini bosses. I don't really know how to describe them, but you know, the entire time he is mainly focused on fighting the Fire Nation. And of course, the head of the Fire Nation, Fire Lord Ozai. And you know, some people may disagree, but that is something that I kind of appreciated, that it was something different each season. Now, some instances I kind of do wish maybe you did drag it out a little bit longer. I think we probably could have replaced Kuvira as a villain if you would have stretched out Armand or Zahir. If you would have carried them out a little bit longer into another season to build a little more suspense.
Maybe the blame is the writers. Maybe the writers just didn't do that well because if y'all know the lore, the first season of Korra was supposed to be a one and only one and done. It was just supposed to be something like cool. But it was so popular that Nickelodeon was like, yo, try to run shit some more. And Amon was supposed to be the big bad. And so I don't fault them for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I give them grace. But it's like, brother, like, I mean, she's getting beat up all the time. She's getting beat up all the time.
I realized I never finished this show when I was younger. After the first season, I'm not gonna lie, it was a blur. But I think that made it more enjoyable because I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know how it was going to end. So yeah, it was a fun rewatch or watch for the first time. There's a lot of things or shows that I wish I could experience for the first time. And this was fun to experience. Great blend of a new story along with nostalgia. I don't think it was a bad show at all. I love that we were able to get more seasons and more episodes. Now, I did hate that when it came to these final battle scenes, I wanted to feel more cinematic. If it's gonna be the season finale, you know, put a little bit more on it. Make it 40 minutes. The 20 minutes, I didn't like that. But I did love that there was an extra season. I don't think the last season was bad. My main thing with the last season was literally Kuvira. She just didn't feel like a, oh, how do we stop her type of villain. Like, yeah, we knew she was gonna lose. I stated this before, even with the other show, I don't know if I like happy endings, all the time. I feel like sometimes an important character has to die. And I don't know, it creates emotion. It creates something within a show. Like I said, that's a personal issue. I just don't like for niggas to be happy all the time. I don't know. Now, I do understand that the Aang and Korra show are, you know, they're by the same writers, but I mean, it is a different story. It's a different avatar. So, you know, I try to view it as its own. And, you know, I try to critique it as such, but it was honestly great to be able to experience some of the old characters again. Seeing Toph as this old grumpy person who honestly really didn't change that much, and being able to see Katara was really fun. Being able to see Aang as an adult with his lit beard and shit was like, it was tough, you know. I didn't read any of the comics, so I've only seen the shows. Now, one thing I do have to say, I don't know where the fuck, I did not think that Toph and Aang were just gonna be bad parents like that, especially Aang. Toph, I kind of see it. I understand they probably didn't have the best role models or parents growing up. That shit was crazy to me. Y'all was really out here being bad parents. Overall, I still think it was a good show, and I understand the criticisms towards it, you know. I tried to view it from their perspective, and some, I'm not gonna lie, I agreed with. It's nowhere near the greatest cartoon of all time. It ain't there, but you know, but it's kind of like, you know, not too much on it, bro. Now you can tell me in the comment section of whether you agree or disagree on the direction that they chose to go. So if you have any recommendations on shows or movies that you want me to watch, or maybe a show that you want me to review and do a video on, put it in the comment section about what you agree or disagree on. Hey man, I'll reply in the comment section. I appreciate you for watching, and
It's a cold Sunday to complain. I hold it in until it rains.